Hello my beautiful friends, and welcome to another Vlogmas episode. For today's video, I figured we would sort of get ready together. I'm currently still in my pajamas. I have bed head, and I figured we would do our hair and also our makeup, put on a cute outfit. And while I do that, I asked you guys over on Instagram and also on my YouTube community page to ask me to talk about some controversial subjects as well as make some assumptions about me. And y'all got a little bit juicy, okay, a little bit nosy, and I love that for us. Honestly, my favorite videos like this to watch are the ones that ask, you know, the juicy questions. So let's just get into it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just moisturize my skin, put on a beautiful thick layer of this Mermaid Milk Moisturizer. I got this from my Kinder beauty box and I love it. I've been using it almost every single day. And I used to think I had very like in-between skin, and now I'm pretty sure that I've got dry skin, or maybe it's just because of the weather, you know? I think I put too much moisturizer on my face, but we're gonna roll with it. And today for our hair, it is a little bit greasy, but we're going to try to curl it. My mother-in-law is coming over tonight for dinner, and I just want to look and feel cute, you know? Anyway, let's get into some of these assumptions first. So the first assumption is you grew up rich / were spoiled a lot growing up. I feel like every single YouTuber who makes assumption videos like this gets that question. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with people who are fortunate enough to have, you know, rich families or families who support them and support their dreams. However, I grew up very much the opposite. I did not grow up rich at all. I grew up with a single dad who had 3 children, myself, my older sister, and my younger brother. And we very much lived paycheck to paycheck. We did not ever get extravagant presents, you know, for Christmas or for our birthdays. We never went on family vacations. We did before my mom passed away, but afterwards, I don't think we went on a single family vacation. And so we grew up even below middle class, probably within like the poverty line. I'm not sure exactly where we fell, but no, we were definitely not rich. And I also definitely didn't grow up spoiled, which is maybe why I tend to try to spoil myself now. Maybe I'm making up for lost time. I'm not 100% sure. But growing up that way definitely gave me a totally different perspective on the world in general. And I'm super, super grateful for everything that I have right now. I definitely would not be living in this house, you know, without Andrew or anything like that. So it's definitely given me a new perspective on life. The next assumption is that I partied a lot in college. And that also could not, ouch, I burned myself. I'm okay. And that could also not be further from the truth. When I was in university, I was suffering a lot from my eating disorder. And one of the consequences of that was that I isolated myself a lot, that I pushed friends away, that I declined invitations out literally all the time. I think I can count on one hand the amount of times that I've been clubbing or went out to a club with friends. And of course, part of me wishes that I could, you know, go back in time, not be suffering from my mental illness, enjoy my time with friends and things like that. But clubbing is also just really not my scene, and there's no shame or shade to anybody who enjoys it or who used to enjoy it in the past. But I feel very uncomfortable when people touch me unprompted. I feel very uncomfortable when the music is super loud and like you can't hear what the people next to you are saying. Honestly, my favorite form of like socialization with friends is just to go out to, you know, a cute little restaurant or a pub or to host people. I'm very much a homebody, and I don't know, I feel like I'm the perfect mixture of an extrovert and an introvert, because I can definitely make new friends if I'm, you know, forced into a specific situation, but I would rather be at home watching horror movies and not leaving my house. Oh my God, I keep burning my hand. So I always curl my hair in sections, in 3 sections to be exact. So this first bottom section, once it's done, I just secure it with a little hair tie at the nape of my neck. And then we are going to let down some more hair from this top part. Somebody made the assumption that I never smoked weed or that I do not smoke weed. And This is false. I have in the past. I do not smoke weed anymore, and I think I only have maybe 4 or 5 times in my life, and now I do not smoke because I hate the feeling of smoking, like my lungs, my chest. I think that that feeling for me is just one that I want to avoid at all costs, unless I want to basically cough until I hurl. But when it comes to taking THC, I do still take THC on a weekly basis. I do take edibles to help me sleep for my insomnia. It's basically the only reason that I take them. And I think that there's so much shame around people who do use marijuana or who use it to help with pain or to help with stress or whatever it might be. And I think that there's absolutely no shame. Like, I think we just need to end the stigma around that entire conversation. And if you don't want to do it, then don't do it. And if you do, then, you know, do it in a safe place for yourself, you know? Also, does anybody else remember that video that went around when we were younger, or when I was younger, about that girl who was using a curling wand and then just burnt off all of her hair? That video lives in my head rent-free. The next assumption is that my circle of friends is very, very small, and that is very, very true. I have a lot of people that I truly care about, but people who are my solid go-to friends, the ones that are my ride or die, I can count them on one hand, and it also includes my sister. I used to be friends with the shittiest people in the entire world. Friends who just always put themselves first, who were very, very selfish, who said things that hurt my feelings and never took, you know, accountability for their actions. I have so much tea when it comes to, you know, past friendships. Part of me wants to keep some of it offline, but I'm more than happy to talk about some of my experiences with toxic friends if anybody, you know, ever wants to listen. But yes, that would be a correct assumption. I do not have many friends. I'm always open to meeting more, but I'm super content with all of the friends that I have in my life right now. I always say quality over quantity. Last section of our hair. It really doesn't take me that long to curl my hair. Probably takes me around 15 to 20 minutes. Let's go in for another assumption. You don't believe in hookup culture. And I wouldn't say that I don't believe in hookup culture. It's just never something that I've personally participated in myself. The people that I've hooked up with are just the people that I was dating. And I think a lot of that just has to do with like me having trust issues or me being particularly uncomfortable, especially around men, and especially around men that I do not know. But I think that everybody has the right to do whatever they want with themselves, with their body, with others, as long as both people or all of the people within this sort of hookup are consenting, then I have no problem at all with it. So I'm not sure if that answers the assumption, like that I don't believe in it, because I do. I just don't participate in it myself. You are pro-choice. Abso-fucking-lutely. Absolutely, I am pro-choice. I will always be pro-choice. I believe in bodily autonomy. And I saw somebody actually talking about this on TikTok the other day, and she used a really, really great example because I think that one of the big arguments that people who are pro-life give is that, you know, life starts at conception and you are a murderer, you know, if you kill your baby, etc., etc. But all of the laws that are currently in place, whether it's in the US, whether it's in Canada, whatever it might be, prioritize bodily autonomy over the life of an individual. And so what I mean by that is, if somebody needs my kidney in order to survive, like they cannot survive without my kidney, nobody else can give them a kidney, only I can. It's my choice whether or not I go under the knife and give them my kidney. And if they die, I'm not gonna get charged for murder. I just didn't want to give them my kidney because that is bodily autonomy. I think that it is a right. And I also think that nobody can tell another woman what to do with her body. So yes, your assumption is correct. I am pro-choice and I will always be. Somebody assumed that I have high standards, and I mean, I think that this is an interesting question because I'm not sure if you mean like high standards for romantic partners or high standards for myself or high standards in general. I do now have higher standards. In the past, I used to have really, really low standards for how I was treated, for my friends, for everything. And now, I mean, yeah, I would say that I have pretty high standards. So to answer your assumption, basically you are right, but it is something that I'm still working on. And what I mean by that is, in order to have high standards, I have to reinforce my boundaries all the time. And that's something that I'm still working towards. So now that my hair is all curled, we're gonna brush it out later, but for now, I just put it on the top of my head with a scrunchie. These scrunchies are my favorite, and they're from Lily Silk. And now we're gonna move on to our makeup. The next assumption is that I do not support plastic surgery. And I think that this is super controversial. You guys really went in with like the controversial assumptions and also some more controversies that you want me to talk about later. I don't use foundation, so I'm going to go in with my Boeing Cakeless Concealer by Benefit. I'm just gonna go under my eyes and on any sort of spot that I want to. So when it comes to plastic surgery, I mean, I do support it because, again, I believe that people should do whatever they want to do with their bodies. But I do think that plastic surgery sometimes, depending on the procedure, is just like a band-aid solution to insecurities. So for example, if you're insecure about your nose and you get, you know, a rhinoplasty or whatever it might be, it's not going to stop all of your insecurities. So I think before anybody gets plastic surgery, they should definitely think about the alternatives, if that makes sense, and see if they are able to accept, you know, everything that they've been born with. And if they're unable to, you know, function in life because they're constantly thinking about these specific body parts or whatever it might be, then I would rather them be happy than be miserable. I myself don't think that I would ever get plastic surgery or filler or anything like that. I think that aging is definitely a beautiful thing and a beautiful process. And also, not everybody gets to experience it. Getting old, getting wrinkles, getting gray hair, this is all a privilege. It's not owed to us. Most people who would love to have gotten their first wrinkle or their first gray hair, that opportunity was taken away from them. And so every time I see people, you know, complaining about growing older, it's just because of the beauty industry. That's the only reason why people have these sort of insecurities at the beginning, or they were bullied or whatever it might be. But if it were me, I wouldn't want my, you know, like 8th grade bullies to dictate how I think about myself or how I view myself for the rest of my life. I don't want to give them that power. And so really, I just like to turn my insecurities on their head and transform them into something that I really love. But I know that that's not an option for everybody. So to answer your question, I'm not against it. I definitely just think that people need to not use it as a solution to their insecurity. The next thing that I'm gonna do is just add a sort of translucent powder, and I'm gonna use my Hydrating Complexion Trio. This is what it looks like, and I'm just gonna use this white powder and just sort of set my concealer on my face. I just put it everywhere. I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do, but again, I'm not a beauty guru and I don't plan on becoming one. You guys really did not hold back with these assumptions at all. Somebody said you lost your virginity late. So first things first, I hate the concept of virginity. I'm using my iconic London bronzer just to bronze up my face. Lord knows I don't need it because of this fake tan that I've got going on, but I always add just a little bit. Yeah, so I don't like this term virginity. I think it's just super outdated. And also, what does it mean to lose your virginity early or to lose it late? And it definitely doesn't matter. I lost mine when I was 16, which I think is relatively early now in retrospect. But again, everybody's different. Everybody's definition of early is also different. And I mean, I don't regret it because I don't live with regrets. But again, like 16 is just really young. I didn't really know what I wanted at the time. My boyfriend back then was a real piece of shit. Real piece of shit. So that's always fun. But yeah, you can interpret that however you'd like, early, late, but yeah, I feel like I'm definitely oversharing. And if my family sees this, no, you didn't. Somebody assumed that I've never been in a physical altercation, like a physical fight. And no, I haven't. To be honest, I don't know anybody who has. So if you have, that's pretty cool. And I hope you've resolved any sort of emotions that you have surrounding that altercation. But no, never been in any sort of physical fight. Next, I've shown this palette so many times, but I'm gonna use my Butter London palette in my shade that is almost gone called Enchantress. It's just this beautiful peachy champagne color. I use it literally every single day, well, or whenever I wear makeup. I just put it on my whole eyelid, very much like the 90s where they just put one shade and they were basically done. And I also put a little bit on the tip of my nose. And using the same sort of fluffy brush that I desperately need to clean. Oh look, you guys can see yourselves. Hi. I'm just gonna go in with both of these like brownish shades and just go into my crease. Nothing crazy, to add a little bit of definition to my eyes. I used to be obsessed with watching like beauty gurus when I was a teenager, so I feel like I am living my childhood dream. Except I never followed any of their tutorials, I just watched them. And for my eyebrows, I also use my Butter London palette, and I just use the brown powder and an angled brush just to fill them in. And just to finish the shadow on my eyes, again, I'm using the Butter London palette, and I'm gonna use this darker gold color in the shade Diva, and I'm just gonna put it on my lid. And the last assumption is that I am religious. I'm going to use this Eco Lips lip and cheek tint and just put it on my cheeks and also on the tip of my nose. And this is something I think I've spoken about before on my channel, but I'm not religious, I'm agnostic. So I basically I don't know, but I'm not an active believer. I was raised completely atheist, and I used to identify as an atheist for a long time until I switched over to agnostic. It's not like I'm anti-religion or anything like that either. I'm not much of a believer. So now we're gonna get into a couple of the controversial topics and, you know, topics people asked me to speak about. I might not elaborate on all of them. I might just give you my opinion, and if you're interested in any of them, then we can make a more dedicated video, so I'm not just talking your ear off for this entire video. But somebody asked thoughts on when people go gluten-free without having celiac or IBS, etc. I think a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it has to do with diet culture. I think so many people blame gluten for any sort of problem that we have because it's very easy to blame gluten because it's so demonized in our world. But if you don't have any kind of allergy to it, then gluten is not bad. That's my 2 cents. But literally all of the people that I see online who are very invested in diet culture are gluten and dairy free. And I've seen it become a pattern everywhere. And I don't mean just enjoying products that happen to be dairy free or searching, you know, out for dairy free products because you're lactose intolerant. That's not really what I'm talking about. But when people, in the name of health, cut out dairy and cut out gluten, something smells suspicious to me, and I definitely think it has a lot more to do with diet culture than actually, you know, removing things for the sake of health. Because all foods can be included in a healthy diet. I really hate how diet culture has ruined the word healthy. It just messed me up, man. The next controversial subject is working out in recovery and whether or not I agree you should work out, etc. First things first, speak with your doctor and your treatment team and see what is recommended for you, because depending on what kind of eating disorder you have, depending on your history with exercise, it could just be different. If you've ever had any sort of compensation with exercise, so for example, if you feel like you have more permission to eat when you move, if you don't feel as guilty when you exercise, or if you're going out later and you decide in order to eat what you actually want, you have to exercise earlier on in the day. If you do any of that, any sort of compensation, I don't think that exercising in recovery would be beneficial for you. I think that most people should definitely take a break, and a long break, in order to fix their relationship with food first and then slowly reintroduce exercise to see how they feel about it. But that's my opinion. I'm not a doctor, but I do think that it's very rare that somebody can exercise in recovery and just have a good relationship with it. So the eyeliner that I'm going to be using is this Lancome, I'm not sure if I'm even pronouncing that right, eyeliner, and this is just a liquid eyeliner in like a shimmery brown shade. So what I do is I look at where my eye is sort of hooded, like where my lid is, and that is where I start at the end of this hood, and I sort of just draw a little triangle and then I fill it out. I'm going to use my mirror just to draw the triangle, just so that you can sort of get a better look. And yeah, so let me do that. So I'm not sure if you can see, but I drew a little triangle and now I just sort of color it in. I could not do my eyeliner on camera because my face would literally be so close, but this is kind of what they look like. They're never fully even, and I don't really care, so I don't care enough to fix it at least. The next controversial question is, are there healthy ways to lose weight? The most controversial question that we can probably possibly get on this channel. And I don't really want to give a yes or no answer for this, but from my perspective, I think that people should always focus on health and not weight. So, for example, if you want to include more walking into your life, a fun form of movement, more vegetables into your dinners or lunches, whatever it might be, I'm a huge fan of addition. I think that it gets really tricky when people are focusing just on numbers and not on health itself, because then I think that the focus is much more on aesthetics versus, you know, actual health, because healthy looks different on everybody. If there are certain things that you're doing in your life that are unhealthy, like binge eating, like restriction, whatever it might be, I think that addition is always the answer, whether that is additional therapy, additional support, additional self-care, whatever it might be. And I think when we are treating ourselves with kindness, when we are putting our health first, our body is simply going to fall at a weight that is best suited for us. And nobody can ever tell you what that number is. So that's my 2 cents. Again, I'm not sure if I'm really dodging that question or if I'm not answering it correctly, but yeah. We're gonna do 2 more controversies and then I think we'll be done and we can choose our outfit and we can, you know, show you the final product. A controversial question is, what are my thoughts on channels that review diets like Abby Sharp? I've spoken about Abby Sharp very briefly in like a previous Q&A. I think somebody asked, you know, what my feelings would be if she reacted to my channel, and I sort of responded that I would be pretty upset and that I wouldn't be very happy. And channels like that, I think, can be great. They can be great for pointing out really toxic diet culture, things that are really problematic, especially calling people out for saying things that are blatantly wrong, like specific foods slow your metabolism. Like, that's just such a load of crap. And so I really appreciate her and other channels who call out misinformation like that. But I don't think that it's helpful to visit people who aren't promoting anything, who are maybe just showing their meals or who have a history with disordered eating, whatever it might be. I don't really get the point of reviewing people's diets or telling them what they can add, especially, you know, somebody who suffered with eating disorders before. If she went on my what I eat in a day video and said, oh, to make this more balanced, you should include, that would just trigger me. Like, it would not be helpful. And so I think that channels like that definitely have their time and place. Typically, I'm not a huge fan of reaction channels in general. I think a lot of them piggyback off of other people's content. I'm not saying that that's the case for Abby Sharp, because I don't think that it is. I'm just talking about other channels like tea channels and things like that. But I think that it's a case-by-case basis. So I can't really give you a full response, but personally, I don't think I would be very happy if she reviewed one of my videos. And the last controversial opinion is sex before marriage. And my answer is yes. To finish off this makeup look, I'm just gonna add some lip balm. I always use the Nivea lip balms. And the last thing that I'm gonna do is just take some lipstick. I never wear like full-blown lipstick, but I do sometimes just pat my lips like this and just rub it in to give them just a little bit of color. But this is the final makeup. I think that it's super cute. I really like it. I'm gonna take out my hair, give it a good shake, put on some jewelry and an outfit, and I will come back to show y'all the final product. All right, so I just finished putting on my jewelry. Both of these pieces are from Ana Luisa. And then I just paired it with this cute little cardigan, which is from American Eagle, this bralette, which is from Aerie, and then just some plain old black leggings, which are from Old Navy. But anyway, that is it for this episode of Vlogmas. I really hope you enjoyed it. We did get a little bit spicy. I think you definitely learned maybe a bit much about me today, maybe too much. I don't know. But if you like videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. I will be posting videos every single day until the 25th of December. And I really hope to see you here tomorrow. Bye, friends.